What's going on, guys? Brandon here with RAVEK. Today we're going to be discussing the Gen 3 Speakeasy wireless turn signal kit for the Kawasaki Ridge. Let's get started. All right, first step we have to do is remove the front hood panel. This is going to allow us to access the grommet in a future step, as well as routing our wires along the left and the right-hand side of the machine. Let's move to the inside. All right, we've now moved into the cab here. We're going to disassemble the center portion of the cab, as well as the right-hand side. Left-hand side is kind of up to you. Kawasaki does not allow you to have integrated turn signals in the dash, so we'll be drilling our dash indicators right here. It's where the driver of the machine had selected it. And our first step in the inside is to start pulling apart this. There's little clips on them that you got to pull apart. You might have to adjust the shifter up and down to get it to go. We're going to let this part just hang here. On the back side, you have a 12-volt port, as well as the consumer has already installed their winch in-out button here. We're going to leave that be. Next steps, removing the top of the HVAC panel. You can see I've already taken some of these rivets and loosened them. There are two more push rivets here in the bottom that need to be loosened in order for us to pull this out. Find this out lickety-split. There's that. Push rivets out. And we're going to just let this loosely stay in here. This is going to allow us to route our wires as well as gain access to this back panel here. We're going to disconnect this winch switch here in the back. There's a little push tab, as well as the male-female connector. Just make sure you notice which one goes where for the reassembly process. Allows us to pull this whole center console out. In a future step, you're going to choose or select one of the cutouts here to cut in your turn signal switch and horn hazard switch. This machine is getting an upgrade with the turn signal stock, so we're actually not going to be utilizing these, allowing the consumer to keep all of these ports open here when we install that turn signal stock from RAVEK. Moving to the right-hand side of the machine, we're now going to take this plastic piece out. What this is going to do, allow us to gain access to a spot where we can mount the controller over here. We're going to also access the bus bar here, as well as the grommet to the front of the machine. Taking the tab, pushing this in to remove that. Your power harness or your power ports are right here. We'll connect into those. For the video, I've already loosened the push pins here that are at the top. So there's two of them above the glove box. There's one of them on the right-hand side door frame here as well. Just take that one out. Stick these in here and shut that up. Inside of your glove box, there's one Phillips screw, the left-hand side. That needs to come out. There's a little washer on it, just don't lose it. And move down to the bottom here. One on the left, one on the right-hand side. This is going to gain full access to the area that you're going to need to work with the controller at. Kawasaki makes it pretty easy to gain access, not too much tear down in here. And we can then go through, pull this section of the dash out. Just like that. Again, there is in the back side here another port. We just need to remove that. And the customer's already installed the winch, the remote winch cable in that. We're going to let that just hang here, suspended for now.
Hey, Sean with RAVEK. Going to show you how to make your connections on your Speakeasy kit real quick here. I know we call a lot of that stuff out, but just wanted to show you firsthand. On your power connector, we're going to plug that in like that. I happen to have a ring terminal one. It might look a little bit different if you have a Polaris pulse bar connector that you need to put in there, but it connects the exact same way on the brain box. The switches or the lever are the same. So like this one says turn signal and this one says turn switch. We just plug those in together. Same with the horn hazard and the horn switch. Plug those in together. So that takes care of everything on the input. On the output side, we have your rear extension, your left turn, your right turn, and your horn. So for your rear extension, we won't be using that. For your right turn, what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy and install it for your DIs and get that inside there. And then we're going to grab the right harness as well, which would be the front right. And then we're going to connect the short side to that and then run this out to your front light. Same thing with the left. Just make that connection real quick for you there, and then run, remember that short side out. And then with the horn, that's a very simple connection as well. So it says horn here and horn on that. We're just going to plug those together. Just keep in mind that these aren't polarity sensitive, so if you do have to flip them and unhook this at some point, it doesn't matter which way they plug into those.
So we have the dash tore apart here in this ridge. You're going to be able to see where we have mounted our controller for the Speakeasy kit. This is the wireless controller. Nothing gets ran through the machine. This communicates the two taillights in the back with our receivers. You have on the left and the right-hand side here, mounted for your turn signals. These are your dash indicators routed across the dash to the left-hand side. We'll show those functioning in a future segment. And we have the controller for the lever, which is already mounted. Those connections are made on your input side right down here. There's a 4-pin adapter there. And you have your power connector routed right down through here, right down to your pulse bar on this ridge. All right, now that we have mounted our controller here, I'm going to route our front left and our front right controller wires, or wires that run up to the front apex lights, up into the grommet here on the inside there. I did take and slice with a knife this grommet just because it is extremely tight, and we're going to end up running 3 more wires through it. I'm going to push those up front. It is a 2-wall system, so we're pushing through the front wall. We got to get into the second wall up front here. So now is where having a needle nose pliers comes in handy, as well as a little flashlight. You can see back in here where you can grab the wires that we pulled through. Shouldn't have to pull too hard. Pull nice, easy through there. Go back in, we'll grab the other side. We of course are going to have to pull the horn harness through the front here as well, but that's not that big of a deal. If you've got your grandma's old coat hanger, this is where having a coat hanger might come into play, utilizing as a wire fish. Front left, routing it through the grommet. We'll be routing that across the machine over to where we'll mount the apex lights. And we have our front right, we'll do the same thing. Running through there, and we're running that on the right-hand side of the machine. Attached here, you have your dash indicators. These dash indicators, again, will be drilled into the front driver's cockpit area. Some people would choose to put them maybe up on the right-hand side. This consumer really wants them right here, so we're going to drill them in there in a later step. But I am going to run these from this side, from the passenger side, over to the driver's side of the machine. We want to make sure we're running these across, keeping everything nice and tidy. No one likes a janky install that doesn't look good when it's all said and done. We pride ourselves in having nice clean installs. Across. We're going to do that with both the left and the right hand side, and then make it to where we can get to our controller here and make the connection later on. Alright, so these here are the wires that we ran up to the firewall. They're connected to our dash indicator lights. These are the actual lights. We'll be drilling into the dash later on. Of course, this is an optional step. Our turn signal kit is self-canceling, so you don't necessarily need to worry about it. We always want to take and make sure we're routing these behind any of the HVAC panels or any of the wires, keeping it nice and tight behind here, giving it a professional look and a clean install. That's where the money is. From here, basically across the machine and into the dash area. Okay, got it there, and we're just about to the side over here. That's it. We'll make our connections later on over here behind the dash. All right, now I'm going to take our indicator lights. These do have arrows in them for the left and the right hand side. It doesn't matter which one goes where, as long as you connect them to the proper left and right hand wire. We're going to take a mark right here. I've already reached behind the dash here to verify there's nothing behind us. If you wanted to take the dash out, you could. There's one more soft rivet over here and 2 more down here. You would also have to remove this plastic shroud in order to move it. We're going to skip that step, and we're going to make this here to where we can get our access to it and get these drilled into place. Nice and slow. And take our 2 connectors here, insert them through the hole. And again, I'm pulling them from the back side here. Get in there, just make sure your arrow is orientated to the right and the left hand side accordingly. You're then going to take your lock washer, slide it over the top of the 2 connectors, 1 connector at a time. Slide it over the nut. again, one connector at a time. And then what we can do is we're going to have to get a wrench to reach around the back side of the dash in order to get this installed here like so. Just tip it forward, get it started. And all this is going to do is securely hold the dash indicator into place. When you're doing this, it's just important to know and note which one is your left-hand side and which is your right-hand side turn signal from the dash, so you don't have to get confused with them. Where's that? So we're getting down to our final connections here. You can see this customer already has a couple other accessories installed on his bus bar. But we take our 10mm wrench and we're going to loosen these nuts up on both the positive and the negative. That's going to supply the power to our controller. Let's see here. Don't do that. There's that, and we'll hook up the negative and the positive of the battery cables and tighten everything up. All right, let's get to the fun part. We're going to install our apex lights here on the top of the bumper. You could also choose to mount them on the bottom. We're going to put them on the top on this one here, just for optimal visibility, as well as for the video purposes. So I've wiped down with an alcohol pad, an alcohol swab, the apex light, as well as the surface in which we're going to mount it to. While I've got plenty left, I'm going to come over here and mount this one here as well. What this is doing is removing any of the impurities on the machine, oils from the hand, oils in general, and or cleaning products. With our surface dry, we're going to come back and hit this with our primer pad. This is going to really clean and prep the surface nicely and make it to where that surface can mate very well. Once our surface is dry, we're going to take and install our 3M adhesive, installing it through the light. Come back down here. And what you're going to want to do is associate what direction you're going to have the light set. Me personally, I like having the thick side out. Just gives additional visibility to the outside of the vehicle. So we're going to put these the thicker side out. So what you're going to want to do is when you're doing that, you want to think what direction you want to hide the wires. The wires are going to come from the back side here. So we're going to want to take and actually route the wires through this channel, which is right there. And you can cut it, you can tear it, whatever you prefer. Then we're going to go through and install the tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and line this up. I'm actually going to center it right in the line here. You only get one chance to apply it. Once you get it applied, apply the pressure. And then what we'll do is we'll take and we'll route these wires down behind here and get it wired up in behind the front end of the machine to keep it nice and clean. So this is your turn signal stock all in one. You have your hazard, you have your left and right hand side turn signal, and you have your horn all in one convenient turn signal stock. Turn signal kit is auto canceling that as well. Let's get into this install here to finalize the turn signal kit. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take and align the turn signal stock with how it's going to sit on the machine, aligning the holes so you can see what needs to be removed. There is a push pin down at the bottom and there's a push rivet up top here as well. Those will have to be removed and we'll be replacing those with a bolt included in the kit. Before we do those, though, we do need to bolt our turn signal stock onto this bracket utilizing supplied hardware. Just installing the bracket here onto the turn signal stock so we can complete the rest of our install. I almost lost that one down the middle of the vehicle. The reason we're putting these on first is because you don't have access to the back side of them once you install the bracket to the steering column. You'll notice that I have not removed the Kawasaki steering wheel in any one of these steps for the Z installs. You can generally work around that, and we can align this stuff up here. Everything looks good. Now we just got to remove those two push pins and we'll be able to bolt this into place. We'll start by the bottom push pin here. Pull that out. We'll pull it out of the grommet there. And those will not be reused. We'll do the same thing up here with this. Taking those out. We do have our supplied 10mm bolts that we'll be utilizing to put them in place right back where they were located. There's that. And the next thing is to locate the bracket below to where you can start to screw this into place. So if there was ever a point in time in this install where you might use a cuss word, this might be one of them. It's really not that tough. It's just you need to align the bracket, the plastic covering, as well as the hole down below it, and thread the 8mm bolt into position. I do recommend starting with the rear facing bolt because it's easiest to see and identify when it's lined up, and then you have to go through and tighten that in place. I have pre-done my holes. In other words, ran the bolt in them and taken the bolt out to tighten them up and loosen them. It seemed to make the process go easier, which that's what RAVEK's all about, an easier process. Okay. Bottom one in. Just got it loose on there. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to come to the top, tilt my steering wheel down. This is where a well-lit area comes into play, and you're going to want to align the bracket, plastic shroud, and the OEM hole. I did also find it easier to start the bolt through here into the plastic to where you could utilize the bolt as an alignment, and you could actually feel underneath where the hole is to ensure that you're aligned in place, and then begin to tighten the bolt up. Once this is tightened up into place, all you have to do then is route your wire over to the turn signal switch, which we'll do next. Guys, you're almost there. We're on our final two plugins that we have. We have our RAVEK turn signal stock installed. We have our turn signal kit already installed. We just need to route these wires here that I'm dropping through the dash. This is where Grandma's coat hanger comes in handy again. You can reach in the back, grab it, pull it out, and that's about what I'm going to do. Here it is. All that I am doing here is just reaching behind the machine. You can do this by taking this whole panel out. It's just saving you a few steps in the installation process, which most people enjoy doing, especially the do-it-yourselfers and the techs inside the dealerships. That, loop it around here. I just gotta watch this magic. Ah. Got her hooked up. Watch this magic. We'll see if we can get her to come right through. And everything is going through nice and smooth now. And there we are. Our final steps of this installation is to hook your turn signal up to your turn signal and your horn hazard up to the horn hazard.
Hey, Sean again. So I was going to show you real quick on how to actually hook up the Speakeasy kit onto your machine. So this is the rear harness for an HD11. So we're going to install this like normal, unplug the factory connectors, plug these into the factory connectors, and then run this guy up to the tail light like we normally do. But instead of that rear main extension coming and plugging into this 4-pin, we're going to take this wireless module and we're actually going to plug it into the 4-pin here, and then we're going to get power from the license plate, which is here. Now, if you plan to run a license plate light, or if you purchased one, there will be a separate harness here that'll run power out to your license plate for you.
We're now in the rear of the machine. We're going to have to go on the left and the right-hand side of the frame rail, installing the TY harness into the OEM harness here. This is what is going to allow us to wirelessly adapt the back of the machine to sync with the front, having those plugged in. We now have our wireless receiver that we need to take and wire into the 4-pin wire that is back here. That. I'm going to do this so you can do kind of B-roll. Rear harness and the 4-pin.
Okay.
And license plate into the power wire. That will power this unit up. Okay. We'll come back later and clean this area. So the license plate bracket that we include with this kit allows for a vertical mount underneath the machine or a face mount through the face. Some people will choose to mount theirs here. You could also mount it down below. If you wanted to drill into the frame rail, there's a couple different options for you, but the most common option is for someone to mount it right there. All right, guys, so it looks like we have running lights in the front. Dash indicators are working. Let's check these turn signals out. Left turn, right turn, hazard. This next function is something that we call party mode. You have to hold the hazard button for 5 seconds. This is also a work mode for those of you that are using your machines for workhorses. Wig wags from left to right for additional visibility. And we'll pull the horn. Small in size, big in sound, like usual. Let's check out the rear. Left turn, right turn, hazards. Wait 5 seconds and we will have our party mode. And one more, we hit the brakes.